Pure cinema. Absolute cinema. I think even if you're one of those types that thinks that solo leveling is overhyped, you can't deny the fact that that fight scene at the end of this episode was absolutely incredible. Some great uses of perspective shots, some great angles, some awesome animation. Yeah, every now and then sprinkling in some darting lines, which I've always hated in these types of shows. Like, okay, we get it. Nobody can see them. And all you can see is the line from the glow of their eyes. There's that fast. I never cared for that. They didn't use it but like twice though. The rest of it was just, again, pure cinema. Just absolutely beautiful. The music in the background just absolutely amplifying it. Just too freaking good. Just too freaking good. But I love having these little segments in between all the exchanges of blows where you have some unique uses of skills or just unique combat styles. Like him chucking up the daggers, punching a couple times, grabbing the daggers, coming down with like a, I don't know, like a barrel roll kind of thing. It's just some great stuff. But there's a lot to talk about in this episode. Mixed in there's a lot to talk about in this episode. Obviously, looking at what they've kind of skipped from the manhwa going to the anime adaptation. The one really weird change they made is that in the anime, he never arises the bugs. And in the manhwa, he literally does it when he first arrives there. Like, he immediately arises the bugs. But in the anime, for some reason, he gets cut off by the arrival of the king bug. It was just kind of a very odd change there. But yeah, I think my biggest shock in watching this episode is really around Sung and his desperation around Cha. And I don't know, maybe they'll probably, hopefully get into explain this as the episodes goes along, but it felt off. It felt very odd for Sung, this character who seems like he doesn't really show much emotion. Yes, he does good in saving lives. Yes, he'll go out of his way to save somebody. He's a good person. But I've always had this mixed feeling with him. It always feels like he's so, I guess, cut off from people. He's very emotionless. And so for him to have such a drive to save Cha, it's like, dude, you talked to this girl once. Why are you so desperate to save her? You're not upset about Bong Yo dying. That dude was cool. But for some reason, Cha, because obviously she's seemingly the main love interest, I'm guessing, it's like suddenly out of nowhere, he's desperate to save her. I gotta try everything, pour everything down her throat. We gotta save her alive. Predictions on what he's gonna do. I feel like he's gonna arise Bong Yo. And I had that thought process initially. And then I thought possibly what's the chances of them actually having him not save Cha and then arise her. It was either those two things there. Bong Yo, he's either gonna arise him and save Cha, or he's going to arise Cha when she dies. Either way, I think it's going to cause a lot of uproar. If he does Bong Yo, I think Baek's going to hate him. I literally think Baek's going to hate him if he's basically desecrating the corpse of his friend. Nobody's going to like him. But I think if he does that, he's going to save Cha, and then everybody else is going to... There's going to be two factions. Some people that are going to support Sung for doing that because he saved Cha, one of the biggest S ranks in the entire country. Or he's going to arise Cha if she dies, and then everybody's going to think that he's just disgusting. And then I read the manhwa. Up to this point, and the thing that stood out to me was that it went out of its way to point out that this bug, the Bug King, consumed Bungu's abilities because he uses healing. Yes, it kind of points at it when he's fighting the bug. He goes, oh, he used healing? In the manhwa, he specifically in his mind goes, he's using Bungu's abilities. He's using his healing. In Sung's mind, he's thinking about that. So I'm like, he's going to rise the bug. He's going to rise the Bug King, and the Bug King will have healing, and thus he'll have basically a bug healer. He's going to use that ability right there in order to heal Cha, which is, again, kind of interesting. Unfortunately, kind of strays away from my hope initially of him directly arising Bong Yo and then having Bong Yo heal Cha, which again would create the question marks between possibly two factions of people, those that will hate Sung for doing it because he's desecrating a corpse, and those that will like what he did there, the sacrifice essentially that he did there, taking upon himself a taboo in order to save Cha. But if he arises the bug, nothing is questioned. It's just, oh, he's able to do that? That's crazy. And that's the unfortunate thing. I never really kind of expect this writer to get into some really deep and questionable subjects besides, killing somebody to save your own life. That's the only controversial topic they've really even touched on. So I assume they're not going to have him arise Bong Yo. So we'll see though. I was scrolling through the manhwa to get to the current point, and I got to that line. Thankfully I stopped my scroll right when he's literally saying I got to do, and it was something like that. I'm like, good. I didn't see exactly what he just cited there. I don't want to have spoilers beyond what we've actually covered. Anyways, Let's get into the rest of the episode and all the skip content that's in here. There's quite a bit of changes and whatnot that are kind of interesting. The biggest change that I have to point out, the massive change that they had with the adaptation, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of outpouring rage and anger against the studio for this. It wasn't the sister that was beating up on the TV. No, it was not the sister. In the manhwa, it was the mother that was beating up the TV. I don't know why they changed it. I think it completely makes his sister's character look stupid, and I hate they changed it. I can see a mother doing it. A mother beating on a TV, I could see that. She's old, she's she's not that old, honestly. She's an old granny. She doesn't understand how technology works. She thinks that if she beats on the TV, it'll start working. Those old cathode tubes where they have to hit it on the side of it to get it to running? No. They had to instead make it a cute scene where the sister's going, what the heck, and hitting it, and the mother's over there going, you're acting crazy. Kids these days are so impatient. I don't know why they changed it, but it completely made the sister look really bad. Brother's over here soloing a world-ending bug, while at the same time, sister is soloing the TV. Anyways, jokes aside, that was kind of an odd change. But yes, opening up the episode, Sung is arriving and everybody's excited. Some interesting changes here right off the bat. The broadcast feed in the manhwa was cut off because they literally just had Byung-yo get his head chomped off. So they chose to cut the delayed live feed because they didn't want to broadcast a bunch of S ranks getting murdered. And it wasn't until Sung shows up, they decided at that point, okay, we need to fire back up the live feed, but we won't have the delay anymore. And so it wasn't nothing about like a lost signal or something like that. Because when I was watching the anime, I was honestly wondering if Sung himself was creating some sort of disturbance or signal jamming because of his mana, or maybe he had some sort of special ability to do that. The other cool thing was that the moment that Sung arrives and Baek realizes that Sung's there, he immediately turns to Ma and says, Coach Ma, don't worry, we're okay now. I kind of love that aspect of literally Baek knowing, because for several episodes of skip content, they keep hitting on Baek essentially realizing Sung is evolving. He's getting stronger. He hasn't reawakened. He's literally growing stronger. And he's established at this point that we can't recruit this guy. All we can do is essentially form a bond with him, which was kind of leading me into my theory of the idea of Byung-gyu being the one that would be a rise in order to save Cha. Would be a cool way of kind of just pushing back against Baek's desire to be friends with Sung. He just knows that Sung is going to handle everything. He's just literally like, Ma, don't worry about it. We're good now. This dude's OP. But yes, the other interesting oddity that they changed here was the moment that Sung arrived, even before he healed anybody, in the manhwa, he immediately starts arising the insects. And that's what kind of gets the guy like, okay, we got to get the broadcast going back in. Some crazy stuff's happening. He's literally arising all the insects. The insects are fighting each other. He's telling the broadcast studio, the insects are fighting each other. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. But yes, as they're all fighting, that's when Sung goes around to heal everybody. I like how they kind of point out that I can't transfer these potions. And this was the case before. When he was trying to threaten that one guy at the diner, he had to literally pour it in his mouth because he can't hand the potion over. He's got to instead pour it in everybody's mouths. But yes, unfortunately, it ain't working on Cha. Cha is in a bad state. She's down bad. She's down super bad. Which, yes, like I said earlier, I assume what it's going to come down to is he's probably going to have to arise the king bug if it works. And that could actually be kind of a sense of dread there. If he does keep failing the arise, it could turn to one of those things of like, crap, if I don't arise this thing, she's dead. It could be a point of tension there. That's when we get a brief shot of Go and the management team over there, from a distance. I feel so bad for Go. Yes, they've kind of established that Go is the type that he just wants to fight. Like, he wants to fight alongside everybody else. He hates the fact that he's not doing very well physically. It seems to have something to do with his heart. He so badly wants to be on that battlefield, fighting alongside them. He has a thirst for fight, but he also has a desire to fight alongside his comrades and protect them. So it's like, it sucks this guy's like sitting on the sideline, literally not able to do anything. I'm sure what's going to probably happen is they're probably going to have something come to South Korea, like locally attack them, and he's probably gonna have to get involved. It might have something to do with Hwang. It could have something to do with possibly Sung's father. But I know eventually he's gonna get in the battlefield. They have to have him on the battlefield eventually, and then he'll die, and Sung will arise him. Anything now is gonna get arised. But yeah, Sung continues to fight. He really badly wants to boost up his minions, but unfortunately there's too many people there, so he decides to carve out a route to get them out of there. I like how there's so much emphasis on how Tusk is so powerful. Like, right here, he's literally having him, okay, Just follow behind Tusk. You'll be good. If anything attacks you, it's on you, but you should be good. Yes, and right here in the anime, he goes to try to rise. Again, he's already arised things at this point, but then they get interrupted by the King Bug. The King Bug shows up, which we find out later that, yes, apparently the King Bug killed Goto. Which is interesting because in the anime, I got a sense that what Sung's seen initially when the King Bug came up to him, I got a sense that it was probably Goto's face that he's seen behind the bug. It's not very clear. In the manhwa, yes, it is very clear. What he sees behind this bug is Goto. He acknowledges right here, I sense this person that I fought before in this bug, which he's acknowledging too that, yeah, I sense that the shadow that was with Goto is gone. I lost contact with it. So I assumed this thing killed him. But yeah, they start going at it. That's when miraculously in the anime, the broadcast signal is just re-established, which again, wasn't ever cut to begin with. But yeah, you see the sisters get all excited. We have over there, we have Johei's freaking out. Go is happy as hell. My boy Go is just like, hell yeah, Sung's there. I don't know how he got there, but hell yeah. It is kind of funny because like there's several points where people are questioning why he's there. There's certain individuals that are like, who cares? We'll figure it out later. Sung even said that, like, we'll talk about it later. Don't worry about it. They start exchanging blows. That's when everybody's questioning, wait, is he even a mage type? And again, something that they kind of established when he did his reevaluation that he's not going to really correct them on. And I think really this whole fight right here is going to make people realize, yeah, he's not technically a mage type. It seems like he's got a lot of other stuff too. But I love how he uses the Commander's Touch. The Commander's Touch is so cool and how he used it with this fight. Yeah, mainly him being able to hold him still, throwing him down on the ground, that kind of stuff. At this point, he really is realizing I'm not able to really do much damage to this thing because he's got this outer shell. He's got this exoskeleton that's really making it hard for me to break through it. Eventually gets to this point where he realizes I have broken through it, so he's going to take more damage at this point. That seems to be a crucial part of his strategy. But yeah, the bugs realize that he's losing, and he decides to use his poison Talon, which is very interesting. Essentially, in the manhwa, it clarifies that, yeah, he had consumed some cone snails on the island. So there's a lot of marine biology and whatnot nearby, obviously, because it's an island. And specifically, he consumed cone snail. And by consuming it, he then mixed it with his own mana to make it literally like the most powerful poison it could possibly be. Like, not only is that poison itself bad, now he's kind of mixing it up with his mana, which is very powerful, to make it to where literally it's the most powerful poison ever. But again, Sung already has this pre-established ability that pretty much overcomes it. Now here was an odd change, and I don't know necessarily that it really changes much, but in the manhwa, when Sung overcomes the poison and pushes him back, he says that it's possibly due to his ability that he's able to sense the emotions and anxiety in this bug. And he then turns and says, it's the same for my teammates in the manhwa. It's the same for my teammates. There's a lot of anxiety. I can't waste time. I got to get this done because Cha's not doing well. And it shows his teammates. In the anime, it more points it out that I can sense his emotion and anxiety, and it's the same for me. I can't waste time, and then it looks to Cha. Again, it's one of those aspects where it feels like it's trying to establish that Sung's really bothered by what's happening to Cha. Which, again, I don't know why that's a big sticking point for him because it hasn't really shown that he has any care for her. But it almost feels like the anime is trying to emphasize more their relationship, or at least his desire to save Cha. Which really does make me kind of wonder if there's more emphasis in the novel series about a relationship or a better build of their relationship. Anyways, the King Bug decides at this point, I'm not taking him out with strength. I can't really take him down with poison, so I need to change my focus of combat. And he decides to like do this crazy, really great animation, evolution or change in his body structure. In the manhwa, it's a lot more clear what's happening there is he's chosen because these two things don't work, I'm going to focus on speed. So he actually contracts his entire body in to make himself go faster. And of course, as you see in the anime, very clear, it don't work. He's just darting around. Again, crazy good animation. I love that close-up where his face comes up really close to Sung. Some really great animation, that whole segment. But yeah, he figures out really quickly, I'm still inferior in speed too. He's getting faster too. Why the hell is this happening? There is some inner dialogue for Sung here in the fact that he does feel that this Bug King is actually as strong as the Demon King that he just fought, if not stronger. But because he leveled up after being the Demon King, he's basically overcoming him anyways. Like, I was pretty evenly matched with the Demon King. We even seen it there. He was struggling quite a bit. That was a close call, in my opinion. I really like that fight because of that. And you assume that if this guy is just as strong as that Demon King, he's going to struggle again. well, because I leveled up because of the Demon King, it don't matter no more. But yeah, this is the part that I love, where he just starts to throw his weapons up and then he starts punching the heck out of them, catches them, does that little, side swipe thing. It's really super cool. And then we get into an interesting little change here. In the anime, it gets like this really close call with Sung, and the fact that the bug is on top of him and he goes to stab Sung in the eyes, and that's when he awakens, or at least evolves, one of his abilities. In the manhwa, there's none of that. Essentially, when Sung is fighting him and uses his fatal strike, it evolves that point. Because he's using it right there, it evolves into Mutilation. It kind of gives a sense in the anime that he's evolving because he's near death, which is not really the case. He's evolving it because he's used it a lot. Either way, the shot's great. The close-up shot of the thing coming the eyeball, it's a great shot. But this is the point in the fight where it does feel like everything the Bug King has consumed is starting to get used. Like, yeah, I very quickly picked on, he's using the ice abilities. I think it was Kay that had that. Using the ice abilities, he's healing himself just like what Bungyo had. He's using all these abilities that he's gotten up to this point to essentially keep away from Sung. He's trying to get the hell away from him. And again, in his mind, Sung is realizing, oh, he's using Bungyo's healing ability, which again, because of that emphasis there, it makes me believe that's probably going to be the bug that's going to heal Cha. But yeah, really great shots. Thing running away, going up in the tunnel. Sung's like, nope. Nope, goes up there, comes down on him. Love that shot of the bug just completely wrecked, just sitting in the middle of the dust. Starts to call out his minions to attack. Sad little change here, and they've done this a lot. In the midst of him summoning everything, specifically Tusk comes out, and Sung in the manhwa turns to Tusk and's like, if you hurt any of the humans, I won't summon you ever again. And Tusk is like, nod. Like, yes, sir. It's got like kind of that little deadpan look to Sung. He's got that little blank face, like, don't do it. It's kind of a cute little thing. It kind of ruins the mood because right here, it's an epic fight. Everything's serious. There's explosions happening. You assume the anime directors and whatnot are kind of like, yeah, we can't really put a joke scene in here. I just hate it because I really do feel like all the little minion moments where Sung is bickering with the minions, or they do something really goofy, like I've said before, bringing him tribute. Everything that he kills, the minions will bring him tribute. They're bringing stuff and laying it before him so that he can rise them and then praise him for bringing him tribute. It gives Sung personality. It gives him a little bit of a quirk there that gives him personality, and I feel like because all these little moments are kind of cut, it makes Sung feel a lot more lacking emotion, which again kind of goes to my struggles with him being so desperate to save Cha. Cool little extra in the anime though right here is the dragon. We got to see the dragon jump up in there and start tearing up stuff. I was like, cool, the dragon's there. And that was kind of another indication that I kind of felt it could go that direction, is the idea of Sung, using his dragon to get Cha out of there. But anyways, the insect's not doing well. It tries to escape. Sung destroys it and all the other insects run away. And that's pretty much the end of the fight. I kind of assumed it was going to be a single episode fight, that he was going to take out the Bug King. I think with every single big epic battle, it's pretty much been one episode. But yeah, that's when we have the scene where Sung is desperately trying to save Cha. And it was funny because when he first used the first potion on Cha, my immediate mindset was like, well, use the elixir of life. You have a bunch of them. I know he has to use one on his boy's dad, but he's got a whole, 5 or something like that. Anyways, I immediately thought to use that, but I guess it curing all illnesses and whatnot doesn't apply to restoring health when it's really, really low. And so, yes, he decides at that point, I got to do something. What else can I do? And then he turns to the camera and we cut the episode because we had to stop it there. Bad cliffhanger points. And again, like I said earlier, I assume it's probably going to be him arising the Bug King because, again, just briefly before now, he in his mind was thinking he's using Bungyu's healing abilities. So he's going to know that the Bug King's going to be able to do that. Again, I want it to go in the route of him arising Bongyo, because I think that would be a lot more interesting to the story to have this conflict for people of you're desecrating a corpse. You arised a human being. That's terrible. They don't know that Tank is actually technically a human. They don't know that he's already arised humans. Right here, it could be that moment where it's live broadcasted and everybody around them. And again, it can cause a conflict with Baek. But again, I think it's going to be the Bug King. I think he's going to do the Bug King, and the Bug King's going to have the healing abilities, and they're just going to just take Bongyo back home as a corpse. I don't know. It could go that way out. But yeah, other than that, we had a brief moment where we've seen the Japanese. The Japanese are not doing very well. They've established at this point that 7 out of 10 of their hunters are dead. They only have 3 left. And yeah, at that point, this chairman trying to push them to go in there and fight with the remaining people. They figured there's 2 sources back there. One of them's got to be this bug. We could still do this. It's probably injured after fighting Goto. Big mistake there. It's like if Sung wasn't actually beating the crap out of it and eventually kills it, going in there expecting that this bug was at all harmed by Goto, no. Again, with Goto, anything that wasn't a part of the South Koreans were all one-shotted. This thing was not beat up by Goto. So it's a good thing that they're there. I'll be curious what they're going to end up doing with them, because they're going to be rushing back in there in order to try to finish off this bug. But I would assume by the time they get there, they're going to be done. I mean, they could see possibly the aftermath. They could end up spotting Sung do the Arise, and then they're going to take that information back to Japan and possibly cause problems with, Sung in South Korea. But that's the only thing I could see coming out of that. It seems like they're going out of their way to show them trying to go in there to investigate or at least see what's going on. So they got to see something. Otherwise, there's no point in having this shot of them desperately trying to finish their whole project here. But we'll see. I guess the whole reason for that whole scene could be the idea of showing the guy literally going, you could take the entire population of the Earth to go after this bug, and they would all die. Like, literally the entire population of the Earth cannot kill this thing. It's impossible. This thing's OP. It one-shot everybody. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below and comment. Let me know if you think I'm overhyping it. Do you think this episode was not pure cinema? Let me know. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. Like this content and you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.